We are having again Jerry Gidel to talk about these choppy markets in the United States and around the world. Everything about commodities right here on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep you up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. So Jerry, we finished the week with negative for wheat, corn, and soybeans, but still higher than last week.
Yes, exactly. We've had quite an emotional week here. It all started out with the bombing of the Crimea bridge there, which prompted retaliation from the Russians back into Ukraine and some significant missile attacks across the whole country of Ukraine. And then we ended up, um, excuse me, then things kind of calmed down a little bit ahead of the USDA report, and that particular report provided a big boost to soybeans and that, but we couldn't seem to hold it very well as we kind of slumped back here going into the weekend. Not untypical though in the U.S. when we have a harvest weekend going on. Looks like it's going to be a little on the brisk side, but no particular moisture after tonight here in the central and eastern corn belt at this point. Very light rain, so it's not going to slow things down very far from there. So it definitely was a choppy week along the way from that standpoint. So I guess all we have to do is try to figure out uh, what the Russians might do next to on the world scene.
Yes, and also I think the market has been very impacted by South America.
Yes, the South American issues are definitely starting to come through here. To some extent, the ongoing dryness in Argentina continues to be interesting. Both the exchanges here went ahead and shaved back their expectations. Rosario went down to 16 million metric tons for wheat, and on Buenos Aires went down to 16.5. And that one. And then the other twist that popped in here a little bit was the reports and indications here that maybe some of the corn plantings that occur in Argentina, and they come in kind of two bursts. There's an early initial one here about this time of year, and then they have a secondary one after they get things completed there in the soybeans after the wheat harvest. And right now, at least there looks like there's going to be a chance that because of the dryness, there's going to be maybe only 25 or 30% of their crop being planted this corn planted this time of year, and go on with the rest of it afterwards, which would eliminate some competition here in corn potential. And all at this point would definitely put that corn under tremendous stress at this point.
And this week, the market has also been impacted by a rally in the stock market after the major changes in the U.S. macroeconomic scope.
Oh yes, yeah. Well, we had a very defensive tone going into the latest inflation numbers, and that, interestingly enough, they were slightly above expectations, but they're overall they were down from where they were a couple last month and the month before. So we had a very influential bounce in the stock market from yesterday's announcements, and that today's performance could have been a little more enthusiastic, I suppose, for people. But in general, right now there's still a lot of confusion as to how quickly inflation's going to stay, or how long it's going to stay, and how quickly it might disappear. That kind of stuff, and it's I think as part of our own issues right now in the grain markets is there's a lot more attention over there in the equity side of things, and so there's our investing public is more concentrated there and not getting involved, because we've had some very interesting situations develop here, and we haven't had a lot of follow through other than the initial reaction.
Yes, and next week we have a brand new report.
Yeah, we do. I think we ended up uh, have some information uh, from South America, don't we? Isn't that what's coming up? From there, I'm a little uh,
Yes,
unprepared for that question. So,
yes, and they also we are going to have a U.S. harvest starting.
oh well, yeah, the harvest just go along. I think the twist of it is in this whole thing is that uh, the data we got out of this week's USDA report um, was very interesting in the point of view uh, that the amount of soybean yield decline, which really wasn't anticipated uh, for most people, and myself included, on this particular report, because usually soybeans have a little bit better of a track record to kind of hang in there and kind of the dry conditions in that, and it actually slipped 7/10 of a bushel, and that decline, along with along with some adjustments here in exports, and that's across the board. Exports were significantly impacted here this week from the USDA because of the macroeconomic situations, higher interest rates, concerned about the dollar, all that type of thing, and that. But wow, we are still at 200 million on beans. I think that's quite interesting. The one tricky or the interesting twist on looking at past histories of USDA numbers, once we kind of establish a trend here on corn and soybeans, this year we're kind of going slowly lower on things. That kind of tends to be the case. Maybe not all the way to the January number, but definitely into November and that. And the same thing on corn. The soybean number this week, uh, 200 million was important. The corn and soybean or corn and wheat numbers on X weren't as low on stocks because of the fact that they went ahead and sliced the economics or sliced the U.S. export demands on both those, and that really kind of ties into your comments about the world economics and the equity markets and stuff like that. And then we also just have this whole confusion about what might or might not happen in Ukraine. That's really probably, in my opinion, a very significant factor in that, with the Ukrainians not able to utilize their ports and move that grain out that way, there will be just a trickle of stuff coming out, and that's going to put an interesting burden on South America from the standpoint of Argentina's wheat and corn, soybean situations. Maybe not as stressful there because of the fact that right now there's real optimism about the Brazilians having a great crop, but that might not come about here if this weather trend that's really starting to heat up in Brazil starts to move northward, and it did last year. By the way, don't forget it did move all the way up into Mato Grosso do Sul and Paraná, and by late December and January we had some significant reductions in the corn crops in that part of the world, and even some reduced beans that got impacted because of the weather we've had in that part of the world. It's from there. So there's a lot of things percolating in these markets right now, and between South American weather and back sea issues and the U.S. Uh, harvest going along and how that comes through, we're going to have our head spinning on this thing as we go forward.
All right, that's Jerry's Friday night analysis. Thank you.
You bet. Well, take care, and we'll be at it next week.